Always is a strong word, and it is being used deliberately and with specific meaning. Not always in the sense of every avoidant, in every circumstance, without exception. The psychology is too complex, and the individuals too varied for that kind of absolute claim. Always in the sense of when this specific version appears, the avoidance response is not a matter of personality or preference or the particular configuration of their attachment history. It is the predictable, structural, almost mechanical response of a monitoring system encountering the specific input it was never designed to manage against. The chase is not guaranteed to produce what you might want it to produce. The avoidant who chases the new version of you is not automatically the avoidant who has done the work, who has the capacity, who is ready for the genuine relationship that the chase seems to promise. The chase can be the anxiety-driven pursuit of someone who is managing the panic of the loss without having addressed any of the internal conditions that produce the loss. The chase can be the temporary intensity of someone who wants the feeling the new version produces without the sustained commitment that genuine relationship with the new version would require. But the chase does happen, reliably, when the new version appears. Because the new version is not simply you in a better mood or you with more confidence or you with the specific strategic adjustments of someone who has learned what the avoidant responds to. The new version is the result of a genuine, internal, nothing to do with the avoidant transformation that produces a quality of presence the monitoring system has never encountered before in you, and that the monitoring system, encountering it, does not have the management protocol to adequately address. The new version is not produced by deciding to become it. This is the most important distinction in the entire piece, and the one most worth sitting with before proceeding. The new version cannot be manufactured through the adoption of particular behaviors or the strategic calibration of particular qualities. The monitoring system reads the manufacturing. It reads it with the same accuracy it brings to every other form of performed versus genuine, the specific below-the-content level quality assessment that the avoidance system has been running automatically since childhood. The new version is the product of the genuine internal work that multiple pieces in this collection have examined. The work of the silence, the work of the genuine letting go, the work of the return to yourself that the no contact makes possible when the no contact is genuinely inhabited rather than strategically deployed. The work of the therapeutic engagement that actually reaches the level of the pain rather than the intellectual layer above it. The work of the grief that was properly felt rather than managed around. The work of the honest reckoning with what the dynamic cost and what it revealed about what you will and will not accept. This work produces the new version not as a side effect, but as its natural result. You do the work for yourself. The new version is who you are after the work, not a persona you have constructed. The actual, genuine, internally different person that genuine internal work produces. What is different about the new version? Specifically in the qualities that the monitoring system assesses and in the qualities that produce the management protocol's deployment in the first place. The new version does not orient toward the avoidant, not as a strategic absence of orientation, not the performed indifference of someone who is withholding their orientation in service of a desired effect. The genuine absence of the organization of the interior around the avoidance response. The previous version of you, the version that was in the connection, that was absorbing the pattern's costs, that was hoping, was, however quietly and however genuinely, from caring rather than from need, oriented toward the avoidant. The caring produced the orientation. The orientation produced the quality of presence that the monitoring system read as the input it was designed to manage. The new version's interior is oriented toward the life, the actual, specific, fully inhabited life that the internal work made possible. The orientation is not a turn away from the avoidant, it is a turn toward the self. And the self being turned toward is not the self that was adjusting and hoping and absorbing. It is the self that has been returned to its own genuine interior, that has its own opinions and its own directions and its own fullness that does not have a gap where the avoidant was. The monitoring system, encountering the new version, runs its assessment and produces a reading it has not produced for you before. The reading is, "This person is not organized around my response." And the reading of "not organized around my response" is the reading that the management protocol does not have an adequate response to. Because the management protocol was built to manage the intimacy pressure of someone's orientation toward the avoidant. When the orientation is genuinely absent, not withheld, not managed, genuinely elsewhere, the management protocol's primary input has disappeared. The second specific quality of the new version is the settlement. The old version had a quality of reaching, not dramatically, not obviously, but in the specific monitoring system legible way of someone who was in some interior sense not yet finished. Not finished hoping, not finished waiting for something to resolve, not finished with the possibility of the connection being different than it was. The reaching was honest. It was the genuine expression of genuine caring and genuine hope. But it was present in the quality of your engagement, in the specific texture of your presence in the avoidance world, in the way your interactions carried the ambient weight of something that had not yet completed. The new version is settled. The completing has happened. Not the completing of feelings. Feelings do not complete themselves on any convenient timeline, and the new version may still carry genuine warmth toward the avoidant, may still have the specific, private tenderness for what existed between you that the real connection always produces, but the completing of the waiting, the completing of the reaching, the completing of the interior process that the connection initiated and that the internal work has now brought to a genuine conclusion. The settlement is not indifference, it is completion. And completion has a different quality from indifference. It carries the warmth of genuine history and the specific non-reaching quality of someone who has processed the history fully enough that the history is not the present. The monitoring system reads the settlement as something it has never read in you before. The reaching that was always present, even in the no contact, even in the silence, even in the genuine letting go, had a quality of incompleteness that the settlement has resolved. The new version is complete, and completion, in the monitoring system's reading, is the most significant quality change available. The third quality of the new version is the specific, observable, entirely genuine evidence of the life being fully inhabited, not the performed evidence, not the carefully curated presentation of a thriving life designed to communicate flourishing to the avoidant's peripheral awareness, the actual evidence. The specific, naturally occurring, not organized around the avoidant quality of someone who is genuinely, fully, with complete engagement in their own life. The interests that are genuinely engaged rather than performed. The relationships that are genuinely invested in rather than deployed as social proof of moving on. The work that is genuinely absorbing rather than strategically chosen for its signal value. The specific, daily, constitutionally present quality of someone who is actually living the life they are presenting as their life. This quality, the genuine full inhabiting of a life that is not organized around the avoidant, is the most complete version of what the avoidance fantasy has always described. The person who is interested in the avoidant and does not need the avoidant. The person who would welcome the avoidant's genuine return and is not waiting for it. The person who is full in the specific, self-generating, entirely non-avoidant dependent way that the monitoring system has always been assessing for and has never, in you, been able to produce the reading of before. Because before the internal work, the fullness was always partial. The orientation was always present beneath the fullness. The waiting was always ambient beneath the inhabiting. The monitoring system read the partiality and produced the management's response to the intimacy pressure the partiality represented. The new version's fullness is not partial, it is complete. And the monitoring system, reading complete fullness for the first time in you, produces not the management protocol, but something older and more fundamental, the recognition of what is genuinely worth pursuing. The chase that follows is real. It is the avoidance interior producing the action that the recognition calls for, the reaching toward the specific quality that the monitoring system has identified as genuinely, completely, finally present. Not the reaching of someone who is managing the panic of a loss. The reaching of someone who has encountered something that the management system has never been able to produce a satisfactory protocol for, and that the interior, operating from the level beneath the management, recognizes as worth moving toward. Whether the chase should be received and under what conditions is the question that only you can answer from the genuine, settled, fully inhabited place of the new version that the internal work produced. The new version does not need the chase to be who it is. The new version was produced by and for yourself. The chase is what happens when the new version appears in the avoidance world. But the new version was never about making the chase happen. It was about becoming yourself, fully, finally, genuinely, without the weight of the connection and its costs and its patterns and its hoping occupying the space where your actual life was always waiting to be lived. The chase is what happens next. The new version is what matters.